Welcome back to Rabid Noise on Rabid Radio. Joining me on the program now is the one and only Gary Newman. Welcome to the show, man.
Thank you, mate. Thanks very much.
It's awesome to have you on the program tonight. So your latest album, Splinter, Songs from a Broken Mind, it's such a great album, and it really stands up against all your previous work. When you set out to write a new album, how does the process usually start for you?
It's pretty much... I'll spend a while making noises and samples. So I probably spend a couple of weeks or so just walking around or driving around with a little dictaphone or some kind of recording device, and I'll bang things and scrape things and, bash stuff together just to create a new sort of vocabulary of sounds. And then I'll go back to the studio and I'll work on those and, manipulate things and put it through the software and so on. So that by the time I actually start trying to write tunes, I've probably got several hundred what I think are cool sounds, to work on. And then you sort of try to make them musical. But then the real work starts by just melodies, really. Everything starts with a piano. So I sit down with a piano or a synth that sounds like a piano, whatever, and just work out all the tunes and the arrangements so that I have a basic skeleton of the song. And then I'll possibly do like a weird scat vocal over the top of that with no lyrics or anything like that, just singing noises and gobbledygook just to get the flow of it right, and how the vocal's going to go. And then I normally spend a few days then with the software, doing the production side of it, just building up layers, putting the bass on and the drums on, whatever it's going to be, just building it up. Then do the lyrics. That's pretty much the last thing that I do, the lyrics and then the final vocal. And that whole thing normally takes about 4 or 5 days. So if I'm working well, I can do a song every 4 or 5 days, and then I send that off to Aid Fenton, who produces my stuff now, and he starts to work on it. And while he's doing that, I get on with the next one, and we have like this little factory production line thing going, and it works really well. But that's basically how it works.
That's an awesome process. It's actually interesting to hear, going out and finding those sounds and things. That's a really cool way of getting inspired.
Well, it works for me. A lot of my music it hinges around the sounds that are on it. I think with electronic music in particular, it's very kind of driven by the sounds that you use rather than with a conventional guitar-based drum sort of lineup. You're kind of going to have, when you make a new album, you're going to have pretty much the same sound you had with the last one and the one before that.
Exactly.
And no disrespect, that's the sort of music that it is. But with electronic music, you're able to come up with brand new sounds, completely different things every time you make an album. And if you don't want to have what everyone else has got, because most people have the same equipment now, the price of the software has come down to such a degree that pretty much everyone's going to have the same stuff that I've got, I would imagine, Omnisphere and whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And so we've all got the same sounds. So if you all just use the same sounds, we're all going to sound a little bit similar. So you do have to go out and sort of create your own, so that you can mix and merge your own stuff, with what comes with the software, or else there's nothing kind of unique about what you do.
Yeah, that's really cool. I like that. So one track off Splinter that really got me was Lost. That song, it really packs an emotional punch. As you know, music can be a very powerful thing and, a friend to some people through hard times. And I'm sure that you've heard that from many people that have been, affected by your music. How does that make you feel to know that you've helped people out in that way?
Oh, it's amazing, actually. If I'm honest, when you're writing a song, you're doing it in a very selfish way. You're not trying to help anyone. You just got your own things that you want to come out. I mean, Lost is a good example. When I wrote Lost, I got diagnosed with depression in 2008, and I was down with that for about 3 or 4 years. And my wife had postnatal depression, so she was in a state, and I was in a state, and we stopped getting on very well, and we started to argue quite a lot, and it got quite bad actually. At one point, I was actually thinking about leaving. It got really heavy, and I wrote Lost on that day, the day I was thinking I'm going to piss off. So, I went out that morning and I started to write down what it would be like, if she wasn't there. And the song evolved slightly during the making of it, but it changed everything for me. So that was a massively emotional thing for me. But it was very selfish. I was simply writing it about me, about my life and my problems. And then it comes out, sort of many, many months later, and you start to get messages from people saying, oh, no, I heard that song and it made me think differently, and it has this big effect on people. And you think, well, that's amazing. That's really, really cool. And I'm really glad that happens, and I'm really proud of it, actually, when you get these messages, because it's such a cool thing to have touched people in such a profound way. But, as I say, if I'm honest, when I wrote it, I wasn't thinking about anybody other than me and my wife. So it all starts in a really selfish place. But then once you put it out, obviously it's sort of there for everybody.
Yeah, it's an amazing thing. It really is. And, well, personally, as a big fan of yours, there are so many songs that I love that mean quite a lot to me, like One Perfect Lie off Pure and Voice from Metal Rhythm. Will you be playing any of those songs live?
We do. Obviously, the focus is on Splinter. We do about 9 songs from Splinter. Mm-hmm. But we do some from Replicas, some from Pleasure Principle. We don't touch the middle years very much, if I'm honest. We won't do anything from Metal Rhythm, for example. We do 2 songs from Pure. So we do a smattering of stuff from recent albums and a smattering of stuff from the early albums. And I don't do anything from the bits in the middle. I have my own issues, unfortunately, with those, what I call the middle years albums. It wasn't the best time for me. I don't think I wrote a lot of really good stuff in those middle years. I lost the plot a little bit. And I got it back in 94. I was back on track, and I was very happy with what I was doing. But for the few years before that, I think I wavered quite badly. And also I had, I've got girl singers, backing vocals, got fretless bass, saxophone, all kind of instrumentation that I don't have with this current band. So, I wouldn't want to sort of get in a saxophone player just to play one song or 2 songs. And also the sound that I have now, the music now is very heavy and very industrial, and I don't think a lot of that stuff in the middle years would kind of suit. I could take the early stuff because, strangely enough, you've only got to beef it up a little bit, and that sits really comfortably beside the new stuff. They're both kind of industrial in their own way. Middle years period, it just doesn't translate for some reason. For the time being, I'm not doing any of that, but I do quite a bit of the early stuff.
You've written so many great songs that have been either covered or sampled by, so many bands. Have there been any that really gotten your attention? Yeah,
God loves them. There have been so many that it's just such an amazing, for me, it's an amazing thing, and I'm really proud of it. I wish I could be slightly more sort of cool and aloof about the whole thing and just take it for granted, but I don't. I'm not like that. I think it's amazing, absolutely brilliant. But some of them have been fantastic. Now, I remember I met Trent Reznor for the first time, years ago now, and he was making the Fragile album, and he bought me a copy of a song of mine that he had done called Metal, and it was just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Much better than my original version of it. So that was a great moment. I remember the first time I heard the Foo Fighters doing a song called Down in the Park of mine. I thought, it's great. Marilyn Manson did that as well, actually. That was really cool. And then, other people have sampled stuff. Basement Jaxx, Where's Your Head At song, it's essentially one of my songs with a different top to it. That's a song of mine called Me that came from the Pleasure Principle album. So there's been loads of stuff like that, and it's just as a songwriter, I see myself as a songwriter first and foremost before a performer or singer or anything. I think of myself as a songwriter, and to have your songs covered by other people who are themselves great songwriters, it's such an honour, and it's such a pat on the back. It's great. But probably one of the thing I'm most proud of is when people cover my songs. I'm absolutely blown away by it every time.
I actually met you a couple of years ago in Brisbane before your show, and we talked a little bit about what bands you were listening to at the time and things like that. So I'm actually interested to find out, what have you been listening to of late?
Well, there's a band in England called Officers. They toured with me a couple of years back now, I think. I think they're brilliant. They've done one album so far called On the 12th Throne. There's another one just about to come. Absolutely great band. Haven't made it yet, but I'm sure they will. Great band. There's another band called The Losers, again another British band that I think are really, really cool. They toured with me earlier this year, I think it was. Maybe last year. Then over here in America, there's a band called Roman Remains. I think they're British, funny enough, but they're here at the moment.
Yeah,
I mean they're amazing, absolutely brilliant. There was a band called the Duke Spirit, and this is kind of an offshoot of the Duke Spirit, Roman Remains. Really, really good. Got a girl singer called Lena Moss. Fantastic voice, absolutely fantastic, and just great, great song. So there's a number of things really that I've been listening to of late, but it's new bands really mainly.
Yeah, awesome. I'm gonna have to check those guys out. Are you a Combi Christ fan at all?
Yeah, I love Combi Christ. I've had 2 attempts to go and see Combi Christ in the last year for various reasons. I've not made it either time, including one not that long ago over here. So I'm determined to go and see them as soon as I possibly can. I keep trying and I keep failing.
Amazing. I was going to say their new album, We Love You, it's mind-blowing. And that's actually one band that I was thinking the other day. Yeah, they're one band that I think it'd be cool to hear you collaborate with them, actually. I think that would just be something really cool. Yeah. In saying that, though, is there anyone that you'd want to collaborate with?
Well, me and Trent have talked about doing something together a number of times now. Never got it together yet, obviously, so far. When we've done some stuff on stage together, but never actually done anything in the studio together. But, we sort of bump into each other because we actually only live about 20 minutes away from each other now. So now that I live in Los Angeles, it's a lot easier, I guess, to kind of do something like that. Because we're both very busy. And before, when I lived in England, if he had a spare bit of time, the chances are I'm going to be doing something else in England. So it never really worked out. But that's possible. But if I'm honest, I'm really not the most confident person when it comes to collaborating. Although I've been doing this for a long time, I'm very, I'm a bit, I've got confidence issues basically. So I'm all right in my own little bubble, doing my own thing. But to step out of that, I get a bit nervous about it. So it makes me very passive as a collaborator. I don't go and seek people. I don't. I would never dream of going to Trent and just say, that thing we talked about, why don't we do it tomorrow? I would never do that. I would wait for Trent to come to me. Every collaboration I've ever done, people have come to me and asked me about it. And that's absolutely not because I'm arrogant. It's quite the opposite. It's because I don't have the confidence to go out and put myself forward to other people. So I kind of just sit back, really. There's something came in a few weeks ago, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, for a new band called The Vows. They want me to sing on a song of theirs. It's brilliant. It's a really clever song. So I'm going to do that. So that's kind of the way it works for me. I just sort of sit back and wait for people to call me, really.
Well, hopefully Trent is kicking back in a Sunday afternoon. He goes, I might give Gary a call and boot down 20 minutes down the road and get jamming. That'd be actually really cool to hear, man.
He's so busy. He goes from tour to album to soundtrack to tour. He's got a work ethic that makes pretty much everyone else on the planet look lazy. So I'm sure he's filling up his spare time with something useful. I
think there's more than one Trent, personally. I think that's the secret. I think he's got like some kind of cloning machine. He just sends them all out to work at once, and he sits at home and he can play video games, hang with his family. So, as you're so busy with music and touring, do you still find time to fly these days?
No, I don't do that much anymore. I don't do it at all anymore, actually. I was an air display pilot. I used to teach low-level aerobatics in World War II airplanes. I was an examiner for that for a couple of years. Yeah. So I got into it very heavily and very deeply, and it was a real passion of mine. And then a number of things happened. A lot of my friends were killed in different crashes over the years. I kind of just used to that. That was an acceptable risk, really. Everyone knew it could happen, and you just put up with it. In a weird kind of way, it was almost part of the excitement that you knew it was that dangerous. But then one particular person died, my teammate in a two-ship display team that we had, and that hit my wife really hard. She knew him really, really well. She hadn't known any of the others really well, and so that freaked her out completely, and then she didn't want me to do it anymore, and so that, that has an impact on you, because I didn't want her to be terrified every weekend, wondering what's going to happen to me. And then we started a family, and the first baby came along, and it took quite a lot to get. Our first baby was IVF, because we couldn't have babies normally. Initially, we did subsequently, but not with the first one. And then when the baby came along, I just thought, that this is too reckless a hobby to have when you're a parent. I can't risk this anymore. Now that I've got a baby, and so I backed out of it quite a bit and just tried to do normal flying, and that just seemed so boring compared to the sort of flying I'd done before. And I eventually sort of just dropped out the whole thing altogether, and I sold my airplane. And then I moved to America about a year and a half ago, so I've been here for a year and a half and haven't done it at all since I've been here. But I do miss it. I miss it a lot, actually. So at some point in the future, maybe when the children are a bit older, I'll probably get back into it. But again, see, life is so busy. I've got 3 children now.
Yeah. So
with 3 children and the career, having a spare 5 minutes is a miracle, let alone time to go and fly an airplane around.
Yeah, totally understand that one. It does get hard, but, hopefully you get a chance to get up there in the sky again and do what you love.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I've still got the interest, so if I can get the time, if things sort of calm down over the next year or two, which is unlikely, but if they do, then I would love to get involved again. I do really miss it.
Yeah, that'd be awesome, man. Well, I hope you get a chance to. Well, we're going to go to the track Love, Hurt, Bleed off your new album, Splinter. Thanks so much for taking the time to chat to us today, Gary, and really can't wait to see you in Brisbane on May 27th.
My pleasure. Thank you, man. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.